Hi, good evening. Welcome to Flux News. It's 13th of January 2015, and I shall kick it off tonight with an article here about the ever decreasing of the price of oil. This is Iran's Rouhani says countries behind oil prices drop will suffer. Dubai Reuters. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said on Tuesday that countries behind the fall in global oil prices would regret this decision and warned that Saudi Arabia and Kuwait would suffer alongside Iran from the oil price drop. Those who have planned to decrease the price against other countries will regret this decision, Rouhani said in a speech broadcast on state television as oil plunged to near 6-year lows on international markets. If Iran suffers from the drop in oil prices, know that all other oil producing countries such as Saudi Arabia and Kuwait will suffer more than Iran, he added. Oil prices have fallen 60% from their June 2014 peaks, driven down by rising production, particularly of US shale oil, expected demand in Europe and Asia. Earlier this month, Iran described Saudi Arabia's inaction in the face of the 6-month price slide as a strategic mistake, but hoped that the kingdom, Tehran's main rival in the Gulf, would respond. On Tuesday, Rouhani singled out Kuwait and Saudi Arabia's budget dependencies on oil exports. Gone too far, I think. Data showed that 80% of Saudi Arabia's budget is based on oil sales, while in Kuwait the figure stands at 95%, he said in a speech in the city of Beshaher. In 2013, oil accounted for roughly 90% of Saudi Arabia's overall budget income, and Kuwait at 92%, according to the Reuters calculations based on official data. On the other hand, only 1/3 of Iran's budget is based on oil sales, with an estimated 60% of the country's exports tied to oil, Rouhani said. Due to the Western sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program, Iran's oil exports have dropped from 2.5 million barrels a day in 2011 to 1 million barrels a day on average, according to the US Energy Information Administration. The United gone too far again. Iran had adjusted to the drop in exports due to high oil prices, but that buffer no longer remains today. The United Arab Emirates Energy Minister repeated on Tuesday that the organisation of the petroleum exporting countries, OPEC, would not cut output to support prices. Saudi Arabia and other wealthy Arab countries have accumulated hundreds of billions of dollars of reserves due to high oil prices over the years. Saudi authorities appear confident they can ride out the market slide, with state spending set to hit a record this year. There we go. It's all about oil, isn't it, out there? Or yeah, if you look at the price of a barrel of oil now at well below $50 last time I looked. It's obviously not a very well priced asset or commodity, whatever you want to call it. Being it's so cheap now, it's getting as cheap as chips, as I say. So why is it like that? You know, what is really going on? Why are they doing this? As we said before, you know, is it to put pressure on other countries' currencies? Is this the currency wars going on? Is this the start of the currency wars, or have they been on for quite a while and now it's just accelerating? But anyway, I'll move on, PJ. So perhaps to this here, which is inflation at joint lowest level on record. The annual rate of inflation, this is in the UK, the annual rate of inflation is at a 15-year low as oil costs continue to fall and supermarkets engage in a price war. The Office for National Statistics measured consumer price inflation at 0.5% in December, its joint lowest level on record, slowing from a rate of 1% in the previous month. The figure represents a further easing in the cost of living as wage growth is boosting consumer spending power and easily outpacing rises in costs. The ONS said falling petrol prices and lower gas and electricity bills compared with a year earlier were the biggest factors pushing inflation down last month. The cost of Brent crude is currently at 6-year lows, trading on Tuesday at $45 per barrel. It represents a fall of more than half since last summer on the supply glut and fears for world economic health. Flat household gas electricity tariffs over the month, compared to a period last year when they were raised sharply, also made a major contribution to the drop in the CPI. Food and non-alcoholic beverages were 1.7% cheaper in December than the same month a year ago, driven by the intense price war between the major supermarkets under pressure from discounters Aldi and Lidl. Core vegetables costs were 7% lower. Motor fuels fell 10.5% year on year, with a price of a litre of petrol tumbling to 13.6p between December 2013 and last month, with diesel at 15p lower. The plunge in CPI to below 1% triggers a letter of explanation from the Bank of England Governor Mark Carney to George Osborne because it's more than 1% off the bank's 2% inflation target. But the Chancellor is unlikely to be worried that ahead of May's election prices are falling following a tough 6 years for voters in the wake of the financial crisis. Price growth could ease further this month as energy firms begin to cut standard tariffs, with no sign of a rebound in oil and gas costs. The bank had previously said it expected CPI to fall 1%, remain there for months to come. But the sharpest of the decline brings the UK uncomfortably close to a scenario in the Eurozone where there are fears of a damaging deflationary spiral after inflation fell to minus 0.2%. Deflation, which dogged Japan for more than 25 years, is seen as dangerous economically because consumers and businesses hold off on purchasing on hopes goods and services will become cheaper in the future. Mr. Osborne said inflation is at its lowest level in modern times. We have family budgets going further and economic recovery starting to be widely felt. We will always remain vigilant that we have low inflation for the right reasons, and today is yet further proof of our long-term plan is working. Treasury Shadow Minister Shabani Mahmood said plummeting global oil prices are the reason why the rate of inflation is falling here in Britain. But wages continue to be sluggish, and the squeeze on living standards since 2010 means working people are $1,600 a year worse off under its government. So, it's a load of a blunt, isn't it, really? Inflation. Well, it's all simply because all this, I think prices drops and that because they've got no option, because people are not spending money, right? And the reason why they're not spending money is because they haven't got any. And the reason why they haven't got any is because it's been given to all the rich, hasn't it? And whatever gets printed off by the printing press and the quantity easy just goes into the markets for these rich people to sell and buy back their own stock, driving their own money or bonds higher in price, and no money is filtering down and being lent to the man on the ground. So it's all a load of codswallop, in my opinion. Deflation will become the problem. There's no doubt about it. They've already got that in the EU. And we'll end up the same, and we'll end up like Japan was, like they say, 25 years ago. Just trickery and messing with figures as well, because I don't believe half these figures. But there we go. And then you get something like this. EU set to allow controversial GM crops to be grown in Britain. This is a short, it's not very long, and then I'll put it over to you for your comments, PJ. The European Parliament is today expected to clear the way for genetically modified, otherwise known as Frankenfood crops, to be grown in Britain. The new rules will allow Britain to grow crops that have been banned in other European countries. The Mail Online reports MEPs will vote to clear the block on growing controversial genetically modified GM crops that has effectively stopped commercial civil cultivation for a decade. The new rules will allow each country to decide for itself whether or not to grow a GM crop once it's been ruled safe by the EFSA, which is the EU's food safety body. The deal has been engineered by the British government, and which wants GM crops to be grown here, following a series of secret briefings with GM companies and their trade body. The net effect is that even if a GM crop is banned in Germany, France, Italy and other European states, the Westminster government can allow it to be grown here from as early as next year. The Conservatives, Labour and Lib Dems in Westminster support GM crops. However, the administrations in Scotland and Wales and many English councils remain opposed. There is also concern among consumers amid suspicion that the crops pose risk to human health and the environment. At the same time, organic farmers and green campaigners point to the damage caused by growing of GM crops on an industrial scale in North America. Well, if you don't know anything about genetically modified foods, you should go and educate yourself on it, because Frankenfood is the right term for it. And I can see, you know, this country with fracking rigs all over the place and fields full of genetically modified corn.
Well, that'll be it, Andy. I think we'll have to have some crop cops put in place, you know, like the frackers out there, but these will be croppers. And we'll have, you know, people protecting, educating the farmers, and I can see it all happening now.
Yeah, well, you know, what a state, what a state,
Yeah.
what a country and what a state to become, where they can only afford to grow Frankenfood, right, and to smash the you know, smash rocks miles down into, well, not miles, but, you know, to go heavily into the geology to extract, you know, little bits of gas and oil from its own little tiny island. What a disgusting mess it's become, this country, really. And we all know the reason why, don't we, PJ?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my articles for tonight. So it would be nice to stop now and then. So don't be shy if anybody's watching this and they want to add some comments and educate me, because I'd like that very much indeed.
Well, there's more room for more people to come and join us.
Yep.
No matter how controversial it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, wonderful stuff, Andy. Right.
Okay.
Give myself an attempt. Hold on. Hopefully you should see it. What near, Andy?
Not at the moment.
At the moment.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yep.
Yeah, you're going. Good to go.
This is 4 hours ago. 11 Ukraine civilians killed when rocket hits bus. 11 Ukrainian civilians were killed and nearly 20 injured on Tuesday today when a long-range grad rocket apparently fired by pro-Russian insurgents hit an intercity bus in the separatist east. Local police said the rocket appeared to have gone astray after being aimed by the gunmen at a checkpoint set up by government soldiers on the main highway connecting the rebel stronghold of Donetsk with Ukraine's southeastern coast on the Sea of Azov. The incident was the deadliest attack on civilians since the rival side signed a much maligned September 5th ceasefire that only partially stemmed the fighting and did little to resolve the insurgents' independence claims. Tuesday's strike also damaged Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko's efforts to set up a peace summit where his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin could personally sign a truce to try to end the ex-Soviet republic's 9-month war. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, the West's main mediator in Europe's deadliest conflict since the Balkan Wars of the 1990s, argues that such a meeting would be premature, with violence still raging daily across Ukraine's Russian-speaking Rust Belt. Diplomatic talks in Berlin on Monday confirmed that no summit would be held on the crisis in the short term. Both Ukrainian military and regional police told AFP that the death toll from Tuesday's incident included 7 women and 4 men. The local administration said 17 others had been hospitalized near the town of Volkovarka, where the bus was hit 35 kilometers (22 miles) southwest of Donetsk. Donetsk Regional Interior Ministry Department Chief Yaroslav Abroskin said the rocket appeared to have gone astray after being fired at a Ukrainian military checkpoint. It was a direct hit on an intercity bus. Both separatist leaders and military commanders rejected the responsibility. You can see on the map that it is very far away from our nearest roadblock. Not sure where this map is, but find the map in the meantime. I'll definitely show you that. Putin denies any involvement in the conflict and has shielded away from playing a direct role in the mediation talks. Kiev believes the militants may be stepping up their frequency of attacks to undermine the chance of Russia agreeing to a settlement that preserves Ukraine's eastern border. So over to second article for tonight, this evening. This is a couple of days ago. China travellers open emergency exits to protest flight delay. Upset by a delayed flight, at least 2 Chinese passengers decided to open emergency exit doors in protest as the plane was forcing it to abort takeoff and landing them in jail instead, police said Sunday. The latest in a growing number of air rage cases involving Chinese travellers happened in the early hours of Saturday morning in the southwestern city of Chengdu, after the China Eastern flight was delayed by a snowstorm. Angry passengers complained about the delay and a lack of ventilation, and a man surnamed Zhao opened 3 emergency exits to prevent the plane from taking off, forcing it to return to the gate. And according to the state broadcaster of the CCTV, a total of 25 passengers, all part of a single tour group, were held for questioning, while the rest continued on to Beijing aboard a separate flight. Thought I'd bring that to your attention there. There seems to be a little bit of feedback coming through, Andy. I don't know if that's on my side or your side.
I'm not hearing it here, PJ.
Alright, okay.
Well, I'll sign out of Skype actually. It might help if it's.
Either that or just put yourself on mute for a minute.
Oh yes.
I've got another article today, this evening. And this is the main one that I spend a bit more time focusing on, because it's actually concerning me now. This is sort of to get you know, get me bothered about it. This is Egyptian cleric warns Charlie Hebdo against publishing racist cartoons. Obviously, just take this article with an open mind, like, you know, I try to do with the ones that I look into and put forth on Flux News. I just basically say what I see. And on this one, it's Egypt's Grand Mufti warned the French satirical newspaper Charlie Hebdo on Tuesday against publishing a new caricature of the Prophet Muhammad, saying it was a racist act that would incite hatred and upset Muslims around the world. Now, taking it from that first part I've mentioned, 100% agree. Don't think there's anything, you know, you could really disagree with what this guy's saying. Fair enough, you know what I mean? I'm on the same wavelength of thinking. But then this article goes into talking more. Charlie Hebdo is due to publish a front page on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, or shortly in the next few hours, showing a caricature of the Prophet in its first edition since Islamist gunmen attacked the weekly's offices in Paris last Wednesday, killing 12 people. This edition will cause a new wave of hatred in French and Western society in general, and what the magazine is doing does not serve coexistence or a dialogue between civilizations. The office of Grand Mufti Shaki Alam, one of the region's most influential Muslim clerics, said in a statement, "This is an unwarranted provocation against the feelings of Muslims around the world." A total of 17 people were killed in 3 days of violence that began when the gunmen opened fire in revenge for its past publication of satirical images of the Prophet. So tomorrow, guys, is going to be another edition of this, what I think is absolutely just taking things far too beyond. You know, this should never have, in my opinion, should never have really have put this out in the first place. So I don't know what the whole scenario is with this, or the motives of why they're actually doing it. If they're calling it free speech, then that's just a piss take, as far as I'm concerned, and we all need to stand up, not just because of that, it being a piss take on his freedom of speech, but we don't need it. We don't need anything. It's, you know, it's pointless in my opinion to be doing these cartoons, especially after an event, never mind before. And it gets to a point, Andy, where remember when you said to me a guy called Russell Brand, and you said there becomes a few things where he says, and you're like, you know, you sort of struggle where you have to agree. Well, I've had one, and I hope you can see this part. Just let me know if you can see it, yeah? Can you see the Mr. Brand himself? Put yourself on mute, Andy.
Yeah.
You can see him, yeah? Well, there's about 10-15 seconds, Andy, so I won't let you suffer too long, but here we go.
I'm not getting it, PJ.
Say again, Andy.
I'm not. It's not coming out. It's not coming through to me.
No, you're not getting audio.
No video. Now, yeah, load it up first and then play it again. Yeah.
Yeah, well, just give me one moment and I'll get you the audio as well. Well, that doesn't seem to want to play, so it was going to play it first, but without the audio, and now I've got the audio, but I've got no video.
What does he actually say?
It's probably fit best. It's probably fit best, Andy, because I know you're not. You got a mixed mind when it comes to Russell Brand. We'll try one last time for you. So, seeing as we've gone into all this hard work, let's get a quick refresh for you. Okay. I think we should be good now for another try at it.
That's your view. You're on Rupert Murdoch's side. The fact is, if like you or me decide I'm going to go down to school with a knife and start stabbing children, it's hard to stop people doing that. It's hard to stop people doing that. So I guess what we have to do is address the violence within us, and try to create communities where these events are less likely to happen. So what does that mean in practical terms? Don't support foreign violence in Muslim countries. Don't support CIA torture in Guantanamo and all of those other institutions. Don't tacitly support these things. And don't be suspicious and fearful of people that are different from you. The only thing we can do, the only power we have on a personal level is loving tolerance and a continued suspicion of both our media and of our politicians who have their own ends. The media just want to create stories and tacitly support the corporations that benefit from wars in foreign countries because they are the corporations that benefit from those wars. The politicians are always looking to make capital and augment their own power. What do you think, like when David Cameron and Merkel and all them are walking along hand in hand, this is helpful to their political ends. This is helpful to their image because for a moment we're having to go, oh, look at the humanity of the situation. So while, of course, terrorism is bad, violence is wrong, of all kinds, we're not questioning that. We don't need to question that. And you might be, well, this isn't the time. This is the time for grieving and mourning. No, this is the perfect time to start looking at why do things like this keep happening and what can we, on a personal level, as human beings that are on this planet for a tiny amount of time, that are all connected to one another, that have more in common than we have that separates us, what can we actually do? There are
I think, yeah, that were it. That were all I wanted to show you, Andy. And that's the first time I've ever, had to force myself to agree with anything Russell Brand's ever said. Now I don't know if he's thinking all this or if it's brought to him and he's reading off a piece of paper, but yeah, I see what you mean now. Where he said there's some things he says and it sort of gets you, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's a very frustrating geezer. So if you ever listen to this, Russell, come on and have a chat or leave a comment.
Yeah, because I'd love to just have a chat. If he's all about this collective consciousness and community, and as he goes off, then yeah, let's hear about. And if he's willing to come on, then be a good talk, I think. Yeah. But other than that, that's all my articles for tonight. We eventually got there in the end.
Yeah, well. Just touching briefly on the whole thing about freedom of speech and things like this, and with the Charlie Hebdo tragedy and whatever, and all I can say to our own government is basically
don't buy it. Nobody buy it. Just walk away.
Yeah,
don't get involved.
Yeah, if they're that sincere about freedom of speech, there's a document by Keith Allen that's called Unlawful Killing. Take the ban off of it and show it on national TV. Then you might have a little bit of kudos to what you're standing behind. You say you stand behind free speech. Unblock the ban on that movie. All right, there you go. There's my challenge to them, and I'll see you on that.
Okay guys, well that's all we've got for this episode of Flux News. Do join us tomorrow where we will be back with some more reports. Until then, take care and look after yourselves.